I'd like to welcome our second panel to the stage, and I will hand over to the chair of this panel, who is Laura Pierallini. Laura is name partner at Pierallini Studio Legale in Rome, Italy. She's also a professor of air law at Luis University in Rome. So I hand over to Laura.
Thank you, Stephen. Can you hear me? I'm really happy and proud to be here, and I thank Leiden University, the Women University, and all my friends, in particular Carlos Sierra and Steven Traxel, for having this panel happen today. And why it is so important? Because, as you know, the entire one-day conference today focuses on the topic which has been also submitted for the case to our students and the teams that will from tomorrow start the air law meeting. And this is also why we have in the before panel we received so many interesting questions, because you are all well prepared, and I'm looking in particular the students who are in the back. And so, in accordance with the purpose and the topic of the meeting, we have been asked to set up a panel about what the impact of the air accident, either, the, let's say, regular accident, if you forgive me to use this word, what I mean with the accident which may happen during the regular operation of an airline, for many reasons. One, as you all know, because you are all experts, the first one is the human factor. Many accidents, unfortunately, still happen for reasons related to pilot. Not only those very famous, unfortunately, where the pilots decided to suicidize during a flight, the famous German wing case, but also in the regular operation. Second factor can be the adverse meteor condition. Third one, these are not in order of importance, but it is also very likely to happen, is the technical issue or the technical failure. Apart from this, and I just gave a very quick introduction to the topic, there are the cases which fortunately are less regular, let's say, like the shooting on an aircraft, which is the case you are going to discuss from tomorrow. In both cases, with different angles, there are many aspects which are involved, and therefore we decided to divide our panel into sub-panels. The first one, which will be dealt by my distinguished panelist, Cyril Igor Gregoriev, who is the founder of TILI and also is a lecturer in two prestigious universities, one Paris-Saclay and La Sorbonne, both of course in Paris, and the colleague José Antonio, who's a very established lawyer here in Mexico City, and also he teaches at the University of, can you remember? Okay, so he pronunciates better than I do. And the two gentlemen will handle the first part of the panel, as I said, meant to go in depth on the air accident investigation, the just culture, etc., etc. On my right side, the women are always to stay on the right side. And so I have my friends Martin de Serres from Air Canada. Martin in Air Canada manages mostly regulatory consumer rights, and she will be introduced by, last but not least, my dear friend Mia Utters from Brussels. Mia Utters is partner at GDS Advocaten and also is professor at the Ghent University. So without further hesitation, also because I was asked by Stephen to try to stay in 50 minutes rather than 1 hour, as it was allocated originally, I would leave the floor to Cyril. And I would ask, please, from our assistant on the back, if you can project the slide that kindly Cyril Igor and José Antonio have prepared prepared for us.
I'd like to welcome our second panel to the stage, and I will hand over to the chair of this panel, who is Laura Pierallini. Laura is name partner at Pierallini Studio Legale in Rome, Italy. She's also a professor of air law at Luis University in Rome. So I hand over to Laura.
Thank you, Stephen. Can you hear me? I'm really happy and proud to be here, and I thank Leiden University, the Women University, and all my friends, in particular Carlos Sierra and Steven Traxel, for having this panel happen today. Well, we don't have the slide, but you can start.
Well, for this very nice introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm extremely happy to be here with you for this day conference.
I'm delighted to be here to form part of this great panel on a very topical subject. First of all, I want to thank Stephen for the invitation. Carlos, congratulations for such a fantastic organization.
Closer, sorry. First of all, I'd like to say sorry because I'm super nervous. Why? Because you're a prestigious audience, and also because I'm more used as a lawyer, litigator, teaching at university to stand up and walk when I give speeches. So I'm very nervous just sitting down and trying to be quiet. So.
Don't be nervous.
No, I'm nervous. It's family here. Just not being allowed to stand up is a bit difficult. But anyway, let's come back to the topic. So what do we do when an accident occurs? So we've heard that in terms of just culture, we have Annex 19 in international law. In European law, we also have specific regulation. Here, it's a bit different. It's not Annex 19, it's Annex 13, and because you're all lawyers, mostly all lawyers, occurred.
And what about the authority where the aircraft is registered?
Good question. The authority of the state of registration or operation, sometimes it's state, sometimes it's not, can also act, but they will not be the lead unless, and this is your example, so we'll see that a bit later, it's impossible to determine the state where the damage occurs. For example, if the crash occurs in the middle of the ocean, no state has sovereignty.
Like the Air France.
Like the Air France, Rio Paris Air France.
May I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
What happens if the authority dispute is going to lead the accident? What happens in this case? Where do we find the solution?
Yeah, to my knowledge, that never occurred because there is a strict rule. Actually, if you read Annex 13 of the Chicago Convention, it's very well detailed. So first, it has to be the place of occurrence, then the state of the operation. But you also have to remember, it's written on the slide, that it's not only the state of the occurrence. If so.
Sometimes I had a different experience recently, but this is why I raised the question.
Well, you can share your experience with us after if you want.
Still under investigation.
Okay, so, but yeah, generally in Annex 13 of the Convention, pretty well detailed. I don't think today will be a bit too technical for the audience to stay awake, knowing that lunch is coming soon. But yeah, if you're interested, I'll be happy to discuss with you right now if you want to.
And maybe before we move further on, this, as you stated so clearly what the purpose of the investigation according to Annex 15 is, maybe we should clarify whether Annex 13 investigation and criminal investigation are the same or what the differences are. Otherwise, our student will remain with no clarity on, in the end, somebody has to be guilty. So how do we assess?
Indeed, that's a really good question, Laura. Thank you for asking me because, I should have said.
Or certain aspects have been identified.
Thank you, Jose Antonio. And with this, I will ask our audience to keep any question for the end of the panel if we have time, otherwise during the lunch. And I will move to Mia Uters, who will create the link from the first part of the panel about the investigation and the impact of this accident for the airlines, for the passenger. Mia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Laura. First of all, I want to repeat something, and I want to send my congratulations to Stephen, to Natasha, to Carlos, to Yin, and to all the teams behind this here.
Thank you. My name is Marcelo, and the question is for Sir Igor. When there is an air crash accident and as a result people were died, there's a high chance that the prosecutor wants to initiate their investigation, wants to have access to the wreckage. So, as far as I know, they file a petition to a judge to gain access to the wreckage. And usually this judge grants this petition. However, since the investigation teams have their own rules on how to handle the investigation, on one hand, but on the other, it is forced to comply with the judicial order. Your opinion, which one should prevail? Or is it possible for the investigation team to rely on Annex 13 and reject the judicial order?
Very good question, and the trouble is for Steven now.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Luckily, we only have one question this morning. but that's a good one. And as you know, probably when you ask your question, I cannot give you like a straightforward answer. Otherwise, you will have to ask your question. But yeah, it's always difficult to do.
Antonio, and with this, I will ask our audience to keep any question for the end of the panel if we have time, otherwise during the lunch. And I will move to Mia Uters, who will create the link from the first part of the panel about investigation and the impact of this accident for the airlines, for the passenger. Mia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Laura. First of all, I want to repeat something, and I want to send my congratulations to Stephen, to Natasha, to maybe we will not take into account like on passengers, on delays and things like that. Will you do that? Yeah.
And especially Martin will go in depth for the assessment of geopolitical risks that an airline has to make after the accident happened, and how the good airline managed this happening.
I feel like the bar is high. I may have a lot to say. Thank you for the kind introduction and for the invitation, Stephen. So it's great to have students here. You get all the background of the sort of legal framework around opinion, pushing politicians to take a different approach. So that's kind of what I wanted to say on just that.
I mean, you want to continue on this first question, or we move to the passengers?
Yeah. I mean, generally.
Tell what's happening, what is an airline actually experiencing.
Yeah, and it's not so much necessarily in relation to a shooting down. You know, like airlines tend to avoid trying to go back home, or they want to be put up in a hotel until the situation resolved and we're able to carry them to Israel.
Look, the volcanic ash.
Exactly.
This is not pure fantasy. This happened in reality for the volcanic ash. I don't know whether all the people is aware. We had some year ago, how many years was pre-COVID, about 2000?
2010.
And due to this enormous event, the airline were obliged to reprotect passengers because the flights were cancelled day by day. It was not immediate because the restriction that European Union gave to fly were prolonged depending on the phenomenon. And so it was a huge event for the airline who, as correctly we are saying, were not obliged to compensate because no doubt that a volcanic ash is an extraordinary circumstance. But as Martin said, this obliged the airline to reprotect passengers, meaning those who were blocked in airport were entitled to receive hotel accommodation. There was also a dispute in Europe, I don't know whether you had the same, whether they can be reprotected by train, because for instance, if you had purchased a flight within Italy or close to Italy, you can be protected by the train. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, no, this is good. And it's a good point because I recall IATA reporting that the volcanic ash situation completely eradicated airline profit that year of certain obligations.
Excellent. I look at Stephen, I'm afraid we are going right out of time. Any final comment from any of the panelists, or do we have time to get a question? A very urgent question? Anybody has? I see one hand over there. Please say your name and the question if you can.
Can you hear me
You
well?
have the honor to receive the mic from Professor Stephen. And why it is so important? Because as you know, the entire one-day conference today focuses on the topic which has been also submitted for the case to our students and the teams that will from tomorrow start the airlaw meeting. And this is also why we have in the before panel we received so many interesting questions, because you are all well prepared, and I'm looking in particular the students who are in the back. In accordance with the purpose and the topic of the meeting, we have been asked to set up a panel about what the impact of the air accident, either the, let's say, regular accident, if you forgive me to use this word. What I mean with the accident which may happen during the regular operation of an airline, for many reasons. One, as you all know, because you are all experts, the first one is the human factor. Many accidents, unfortunately, still happen for reasons related to pilot. Not only those very famous, unfortunately, where the pilots decided to suicidize during a flight, the famous German wing case, but also in the regular operation. Second factor can be the adverse meteor condition. Third one, these are not in order of importance, but it is also very likely to happen, is the technical issue or the technical failure. Apart from this, and I just gave a very quick introduction to the topic, there are the cases which fortunately are less regular, let's say, like the shooting on an aircraft, which is the case you are going to discuss from tomorrow. In both cases, with different angles.
Different sort of evidence. So this is
Thank you,
this is
Steve.
important one that I should raise because it goes a little bit further your question.
And also the answer to the good question of the student may be influenced by the local jurisdiction.
Sure.
For instance, in Italy, public prosecutor can have access to whatever document they ask for. So it much depends. US is different, much depends on local jurisdiction, which is not good because we are trying to harmonize this kind of investigation. So with this, I would ask you to join with a big applause for my panelists. I guess.
Thank you very much for this very well orchestrated panel. You had a lot of ground to cover and you covered it within time, so thank you for that. A few quick announcements before you leave the room. Number one, you see our sponsors here. I mentioned at the opening, which many of you were not here, that we couldn't have held this conference and the competition without the support of Unam, of course, and our sponsors. And one sponsor is not listed there because it came a little bit later. Our coffee break that we just enjoyed in a nice case and things were sponsored by Sotomayor from Rodrigo Soto. Another announcement is there is Wi-Fi, but it is near the entrance, and it's not the open one, because we just heard in the first panel that we should have joined it's actually password protected, and there is a sign at the entrance where the username and password can be located. The third announcement is that I made it at the beginning, but not everyone was here. Please go and register and get your badge for the next few days. You're going to need it. Okay? Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch. We'll return in 1 hour.